Welcome to Castrol Active Champions, where week after week we celebrate the performances of some of the finest that have played the game. But from time to time we look at other actors in this wonderful drama that unfolds as well. We celebrated the fans one week. If you remember, a lot of you seem to enjoy that particular episode. So we thought it's time to look at people who, well, you see, but you don't always celebrate. So we'll pick three sets of people: the match referees, the umpires, and, dare I say it myself, the commentators. I think the arrival of the match referee was one of the biggest moments in our game, because there were all kinds of things happening before that. There was anarchy on the field almost, and the game needed somebody who could, from a distance, check if the laws of the game, the spirit of the game is being followed. Referees had their own way of doing it. Sometimes you have someone like a Chris Broad who came hard. You had someone like Ranjan Madugale who sort of smiled his way through, but could be stern as well. But the match referees ensured that the way the game had to be played was protected. Protection is a big theme in this series that we talk about, and nobody protects the game as much, or nobody is meant to protect the game as much as the match referees do. They do it much like Castrol Active Actibonds protect your bike engine, whether running or off. I talked about anarchy a little while ago. Some of you might say it's a strong word, but it was a word that I used very carefully. It's part of the job of the umpires to ensure that order is maintained on the playing field. And you add it to all that they already have to do, and you realize it's one of the toughest jobs in the game, maybe the toughest. If you want to imagine how difficult it is, just imagine someone's bowling at 140, 145 kilometers an hour and the ball is moving around a little bit. You've got to check the front foot first. So you look down there, and then you've got to look up. So literally your movement is like this: down for the front foot, up for the LBW. Look at how much time you have. Down, up, down, up. Now, you might get there in time, but you've got to judge whether the ball pitched in line, whether the movement of the ball would have ensured the ball was hitting the stumps, whether the contact was in line. There's a lot of things to consider. How much time do you have? That much. That's it. It's a very difficult job. Then add to that the fact that you've got to listen to nicks. Sometimes the crowds are large, there's a lot of noise there. You might be an umpire from New Zealand and you might be officiating in 45 plus temperatures in Sharjah. You're not used to those. Maybe you're sweating a lot, maybe you're tired, or maybe you're an Indian umpire or a Pakistani umpire on a really cold day, start of the season in England. Maybe you're jet lagged, but you've still got to stand up there and not make mistakes. And that is why the most celebrated umpires are the ones that are not noticed. We only notice them and criticize them when they make mistakes. But the umpires are a very, very special part of the game. And sometimes they maintain order with a smile here, a smile there. People like Ian Gould and Murray Erasmus among the new umpires, Alim Dar. They do it their own way, quietly, unobtrusive. The umpires are one of the stars of the game. Which brings us to the storytellers of the game. The commentators embellish the game. I've often heard people say, but the most important thing is the deed itself, isn't it? And that is absolutely true. Without the stirring deeds on the field, the commentator has got no words to assign to anything at all. But without the words that embellish the deed is a little, dare I say, dull, isn't it? Did it really happen? And then the words are like ornaments to the deeds of the players. And that is why when you remember great moments, you remember the great performances, sometimes you remember the words that go with it as well. It's the words that make the event memorable. And that is why I often tell people the commentators are not as important as you think they are, but sometimes they add so much value to the game that they make it memorable. So what is the job of the commentator? The job of the commentator is tell the story of the game, tell it in a pleasant way, to explain the game to people. A former Indian great told me that the retired players in the commentary box actually act as coaches, and that one of the reasons for the revolution of players in small town India is that they watch the telecast like they've been coached as well, and that is why they're coming through better prepared. I remember as a child listening to Tony Cozier coming to India, and he said, El comido willet. And I just kept saying that to myself. There's such a lovely lilt to it. And I started to follow the West Indies, dare I say, a little bit more because of the way he enunciated it. Radio is a great medium for broadcasters, television little less so. But at all times, whether you're on radio or television, your job is to protect the legacy of the game and not demean or ridicule it. And to that extent, the commentators do exactly what Castrol Active Actibonds do to your bike engine to protect it whether it's running or off. So, the people who bring the game alive, the people who monitor the game, and the people who ensure that the laws are followed. They don't score hundreds, they don't score 10,000 runs, they don't hit the winning six in a World Cup final at the Wankhede Stadium, but they're just as much a part of our game. And when they get it right, they're champions in their own right as well.